You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Almost. Major. Holy fucking shit, this is major!
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Almost Major, where we talk about the many major studios and the films they released. Today we are talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master from 1988. My name is Kevin Tudor. I'm here with Charlie Nash.
Hello.
And Bryden Doyle.
Hello.
And a super special guest is Sam Cohen. Sam, you have a new essay coming out for the Found Footage Phenomenon Blu-ray that is coming out this month.
That I do. Very excited for people to read it.
Hell yeah. I bought it mainly just because of that, so it better be good.
No,
I'm just playing.
No refunds.
Ah, damn it. What else do you do in the Z-Film world?
Well, I write for a variety of publications. Charlie and I go way back partially because we've both worked at Edge Media Network or written for them. But my main outlets right now are the digital bits, working under, the legendary Bill Hunt, reviewing physical media. And then, of course, I've been a staff reviewer and writer for High Def Digest for about 2.5 years now. And they're a wonderful team, and I love, reviewing physical media for them. I'm sure it's very much, it's a lot more enriching to my brain to, travel to these other worlds of, cinema through these releases. It's more of it puts me more responsible in what I want to consume and what I want to explore. And luckily, a lot of these releases are bringing light to movies that deserve it.
What are we talking about today? We are talking about Bless the Child, or did we already talk about that? My bad. We're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master from 1988. Released wide on August 19th, 1988 at number 1. It was number 1 for 3 weeks straight.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. Budget for this was $13 million. Opening weekend, it made $12.8 million, and domestic gross of $49.3 million. This is the highest grossing Nightmare on Elm Street movie, excluding Freddy vs. Jason. Top 5 films that weekend is Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Young Guns, Die Hard, A Fish Called Wanda, and Cocktail.
How long had Die Hard been out for?
Isn't that July, June, I think?
Yeah.
So it's been out a while, I think.
I mean, just hearing that and Fish Called Wanda and Young Guns, like that it was number 1 for 3 weeks straight after those, and those didn't... Because I don't know, I feel like horror sequels usually like have a pretty strong opening and then they decline.
Well, yeah. I think from what I saw from this, it was in theaters for 6 weeks. I think it was like number 1, number 8. So...
Yeah, Die Hard was July, and also bit of a connection because Renny Harlow would go on to direct Die Hard 2. Not one of the better Die Hard sequels, in my opinion, but
it's watchable.
I remember liking it as a kid, and then there was that Christmas where we were in lockdown where we watched Die Hard, and then both Will and I were convincing our friend who was in our bubble with us. We were like, "Oh, we should just watch Die Hard 2. Die Hard 2 is pretty fun." And then we were like, "Oh shit, we haven't seen this in like 15 years, and this is not good." It was just kind of a downer. Like
it has more of
awesome,
a Christmas.
That one's
hell yeah! It has more of a Christmas setting than the first one. I would say it's much more wintry, snowy. I think I like the setting more
they're
than
not
the
in
movie.
Los Angeles. Yeah.
That also, yeah.
I mostly just remember Bruce Willis and Dennis Franz screaming at each other. That's like what I mostly remember from that movie. Which that is fun, but that can't be the whole movie. Well, maybe not.
It's a unique pleasure.
I specifically remember the terrorists crashing a plane full of families that are excited to land on Christmas Day. And it's like, you really think that Bruce Willis is going to be like, he's going to save it, but it's just going to be in the nick of time. And it's like, nope, he makes that plane think they're like, I don't know, 200 feet higher than they are. And the plane just blows up brutally.
Oh, no.
One of the better moments in the movie when the camera pans across Williams' Hadler's face, like he's like lit by red light, and he's like, "We got you." And then like you hear like screaming on like the intercom behind him, and you're just like, "Oh, jeez, this is nasty."
Yeah, it's really, really fucked up. Actually, I remember that, and I remember Bruce Willis stabbed someone in the eye with an icicle, and yeah,
that he
needed
does.
more of that. Yeah, needed more of that. I don't know.
Yeah, Die Hard 2. I guess check it out. I don't know. Number one song in the U.S. this week, Roll With It by Steve Winwood. And number one song in Canada this week is I Don't Want to Go On With You Like That by Elton John. Plot description from Google. This is the shortest one we've had so far. Usually it's been like 3 goddamn paragraphs. And this one just seems like they were just bored and didn't want to write this. Child murderer Fred Krueger returns to haunt and kill yet another group of teenagers in their dreams.
Well, you got to look at the history of when this thing was produced, right? You had Dream Warriors come out. That was a big hit. They really wanted to fast track another Freddy sequel. They were essentially doing second unit work while they were trying to find a director on Nightmare on Elm Street. And it was really, it was interesting because they went to some other directors first, I believe, because Rennie Harlan wasn't their first choice. I think they'd kind of just pre-visualized a lot of it, but they were still writing the script on the fly on the production. So it's a bit of a mess of a movie. You can really feel it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think my first trivia fact I have how Rennie Harlan got involved and how the script was made, and both of it just seems like we have a release date, so somebody needs to write anything, and somebody needs to go action and cut. That's all we need.
I'm gonna lay my cards on the table. This is also one of the, apart from Nancy and 3, this is the first time to bring back more than one returning character, and it took me a good 25 minutes to realize that Tuesday Night was playing the same character that Patricia Arquette did in the last movie.
She also sings the intro song.
Oh, right, she does.
Yeah, Tuesday Night. Story by William Kotzwinkle and Brian Helgeland. Helgeland went on to win an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay for LA Confidential and was nominated for Mystic River as well. Also wrote 976 Evil, listen to our episode, and wrote and directed Payback in 1999 and A Knight's Tale in 2001. Most importantly, wrote and directed The Order from 2003. Maybe my third time on this pod that I've mentioned that I need to watch that garbage. He also wrote Man on Fire in 2004. Written by Michael.
That's a good one.
Yeah. If I may also say, when I see there's that new Justin Kurzel movie, The Order, coming out about bank robbing neo-Nazis, which looks good, but when I must admit there have been a couple times on Letterboxd that says this person watched The Order. I'm like, the Heath Ledger movie, and then I click on, I'm like, right,
what's wrong with everybody? That's my job. Written by Brian Helgeland, Jim Wheat and Ken Wheat. Both were credited as one singular guy, Scott Pierce. I can't tell if they created 2 fake names for one guy or if it's 2 brothers, but regardless, they or he went on to write Pitch Black in 2000. I think it's 2 guys. I looked it up. Directed by Rennie Harlan. Prior to this, Prison in 1987. After this, Nightmare on Elm Street 4. After the success of this, Rennie Harlan was attached to Alien 3 for a year, but left because the shit show that is Alien 3. Die Hard 2 in 1990. Cliffhanger in 1993. Cutthroat Island in 1995. Has anybody seen Cutthroat Island?
I sure have.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, how's that?
No, it's a good time. I mean, it's very much a kind of warmed over pirate epic, in all the ways you would think. But Gina Davis and Matthew Modine really sell the hell out of it, and you can tell the production value is very fun. It's a really around that time I think of Waterworld in terms of those big kind of studio stunts where they have giant sets, explosions, people swinging. And it's all really 90s.
Yeah.
And that's what Cutthroat Island is, and it's a good time.
Long Kiss Goodnight, 1996. Hell yeah.
That one's fun. Yeah.
Is that his best movie?
I'd say Mindhunter is his most fun because of how insane it is, but Long Kiss Goodnight is probably his quote-unquote best.
That movie's fun, too. Long Kiss Goodnight is very fun.
Yeah. He's the kind of filmmaker where you could have a best good movie and a best bad movie. He has that kind of career.
Well, yeah, if somebody was like, well, actually, his best fun movie is Deep Blue Sea from 1999, I'd be like, yeah, go ahead, man. Also, Mindhunters and Exorcist beginning in 2004. What a year. Covenant in 2006. All right, fine. I got maybe one sentence I can say about Exorcist beginning. It's bad. Devil's Pass in 2013. And then in this year, The Strangers Chapter 1 with The Strangers Chapter 2 and 3 coming next year. Mm-hmm. Yay. Fell asleep during the first one in theaters, and that's my review of that film. Then went to go watch Tarot. That was a fun time.
He actually directed this action thriller that came out. I forget if it was this year or last year because all Aaron Eckhart roles post Dark Knight blend together. The Bricklayer.
That was a January 2024 movie, so it was this year. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it was it's decent. It's actually pretty competent. It just suffers from the fact that Aaron Eckhart just never looks like he wants to be anywhere. It is. I never realized until recently, naturally going through DTV stuff and direct to VOD stuff, that he is just mugging the entire time.
It really seemed like he thought Dark Knight would like make his career soar, and it really didn't go anywhere.
No.
When you were like saying like, you know, his movies after Dark Knight don't exist, I was thinking like, what are, I was thinking, well, what about Sully? And I was thinking, that might be the only one, and he's like the supporting player in that one. That's like one out of like a dozen movies, including like I, Frankenstein, which Kevin watched and like filled us in our Twitter chat about. So yeah, you're right.
That's a movie I've seen.
Not just I, Frankenstein, but Incarnate. I'm pretty sure I watched both in one night. Why? Which one of them starts with AWOL Nation? I believe that's Incarnate.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's Incarnate.
Yeah, although he is in the Rum Diary, so we will be talking about some Eckhart.
And Olympus Has Fallen, both Film District movies, so we will be talking about them twice.
Oh man, we'll be
good.
Eckhart.
Oh boy.
Olympus Has Fallen is the kind of like hit that a mini studio like that needs.
I'm trying to think of like my favorite Aaron Eckhart performance, and I guess it's like Aaron Brockovich or something, because like he's never really been an actor that I've like gravitated towards. I feel like even in movies I love, like The Black Dahlia, like Josh Hartnett and Scarlett Johansson like hook up at one point, and then one of them is basically like, wasn't Aaron Eckhart in this movie? And one of them's like, who? And they're like, like,
oh, he's not good in it.
No, he's not good in it at all.
Charlie, what about Rabbit Hole?
That's a good one.
Oh, he is actually really good in Rabbit Hole. He is really good. I mean, Nicole Kidman, you know, I consider that more her movie than his, but he's good. I mean,
We all know Brian's a big No Reservations guy.
He's fine in that, I guess. That's not a very good movie. I was gonna say Thank You for Smoking. I think he's really well cast in that. I mean, whatever you say about that movie now, I don't know if it's good, but like,
I liked it back in the day. I've gotten more severely allergic to Jason Reitman over the years. Hey, Sam, remember when we saw Men, Women, and Children in theaters together? Why did we do that to ourselves?
Sure did.
Yeah.
Sure fucking did.
I'm pretty sure we went to a bar after that. We're like,
Pretty sure it came with your ticket price. Yeah.
Yeah, luckily we didn't pay for the ticket, so but there was
no
cancellation.
Yeah.
But it was brutal.
Also, some interesting tidbits of unproduced projects he was involved in. In the 90s, Harlan was going to direct Flies, which was a sequel to The Fly with his then wife Gina Davis reprising her role.
Oh, shit. I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
The script was written by Richard Jeffries of Cold Creek Manor fame, and it was going to be about Davis's character gives birth to twin boys and later suspected of murder when she merges their human genes into a single being, fearing that they would begin to develop fly-like tendencies.
What?
Yeah.
Is there a horse in the pool? Does that come into play?
I hope
Flies?
so.
I also wanted to ask, so wait, when again was that they wanted to do that sequel? Or Flies?
Just said in the 90s,
Okay,
so
because
I don't know.
The Fly 2, I'm looking at the plot synopsis, she dies at the start of that movie. Like, do they just, like, have it, like, set in between or something? Or they're just like,
Yeah, or something like that.
What year was Fly 2?
1989.
Oh, shit. Maybe they were early retconning. They were just like, nobody
You
saw The
never-
Fly 2.
Listen, never underestimate how much Rennie Harlan could be a wife guy. That is, like, honestly what happens in Cutthroat Island.
And in Long Kiss Goodnight, I'm pretty sure the same year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's genuinely crazy to me how many times, like, I feel like everyone has that thing where it was like, wait, Gina Davis isn't gay? Wait, she was married to Rennie Harlan? What? Like,
I got more about their marriage later. Also, this feels like an urban legend, but this is true. In 1999, Rennie Harlan began developing the action comedy Nosebleed, starring Jackie Chan as a window washer who foils a terrorist attack to destroy the World Trade Center.
wow.
It was delayed when it changed studios to MGM in May 2001. Jackie Chan made a claim that has been disputed that the film was scheduled to begin filming at the North Tower less than 2 hours before he was hit in the 9/11 attacks. That's not true, Jackie. He also said he only escaped the attack because he made a last-minute decision to travel to Toronto to begin filming The Tuxedo. I don't think you can just be about to film a movie and then just be like, you know what, I'm going to go film another movie in a different country.
So, as we know now, Jackie has lied more than time. One of them being that he loves his children.
Oh dear.
So there's that. But Rennie Harlin, I believe, was one of the directors who have found success in the Chinese film industry as well. He's like one of the rare American directors to make it over there.
The thing is about this particular lie is The Tuxedo comes out, 2002? Because I saw that in theaters. I guess
God.
the timeline sort of syncs up, if you want. I'm also just imagining, like... like the scene in Mulholland Drive where they pass around like the photo. They just pass around a bunch of people working on The Tuxedo just passed around a photo of Jennifer Love Hewitt and they were like, this is the girl.
They did the same thing with the medallion.
With a romantic lead for Jackie Chan.
I take that back. He was born in Finland.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I was thinking about that, like, what other, like, Finnish auteurs there are. There's, like, Rennie Harlin, Aki Kaurismäki, and then who else? Like, I'm trying to think of, like, other big Finnish directors. I mean...
That's all you need.
Well, I mean, the other one, I think this was prompted too when I went to see that movie Sisu last year by Jan-Mari Hollander, who did, like, Rare Exports. I was thinking, like, I guess he's, like, the other one. Like, but I was, like, it was, like, thinking, oh, other Finnish directors. I mean... I'm sure, like, there's, like, maybe there's someone in Finland listening, like, screaming at me about, like, not remembering someone, but in which case,
they just chuck their iPhone into a body of water somewhere.
How dare you disrespect Rennie Harlin? Yeah, he is Finnish. And also, this is just some messy drama news, but hey. Gina Davis filed for divorce on August 26, 1997, a day after her personal assistant gave birth to a child fathered by Rennie Harlin.
Ooh!
Oh,
yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not as much of a wife guy as we thought he was.
How can you cheat on Gina Davis? Especially when you're Rennie Harlin.
That's what.
Oh, God.
The baby's born, and it's like, why is this kid's hair so spiky? Wait a minute.
Do you think it was? Do you think it was like the larva that Gina Davis has a nightmare about in The Fly?
Yes.
The kid just came out looking like that. They were like, "Oh, there's only one reasonable explanation for this."
Anyways, starring Lisa Wilcox as Alice, she returns in the sequel, which we'll talk about next week. Tuesday Night as Kirsten, previously played by Patty Arquette in the previous film. She shows up in New Nightmare. Ken Sagoes and Rodney Eastman return from the Nightmare on Elm Street 3 as well. And of course, Robert Englund returns as Frederick Krueger. Does this New Line Cinema film have Lynn Shade? No, but Robert Shade does pop up as a lecturer who talks about dreams in class. And it took us 4 movies to finally get to that trope.
I love that shit. I just love when they're in a classroom setting and they have to talk about what the movie's about.
Also, what class in high school are they talking about Dream Masters? What is going on?
I have no... I mean, I took a Bob Dylan class in high school, but even that is like... I know that stretches credibility, but it is true. But even that is like, well, Bob Dylan, you could talk about like the history of like everything that he was like singing about during the time and the cultural revolutions and whatnot. But like, I don't know, Dream Master, it sounds like a Dungeons and Dragons class or something. Like,
well, the story that is going, you can look it up on Wikipedia as well, is that Wes Craven had written a treatment for number 4. They were like, no, we want to do more of the Dream Warrior stuff, because Craven was like, well, what if we make this movie about time travel in the dream world? And they were like, that sounds a lot more expensive than just doing, the follow-up The Dream Warriors. So they went with that. But now I can only think of it being like Dream Warriors and then Craven just having the hard cut of like, okay, we're done with these kids.
Yeah. I'm sure they looked at his treatment and they were just like, you said there was fucking karate in here. I don't see any karate. You get the fuck out of here, dude.
And apparently that what was it, the karate scene, there was supposed to be like an alternate kill sequence for him because that was going to cost too much money, so they went with karate.
So they went with Invisible Freddy karate. Okay.
Yeah.
Just imagining just Squidward in the background of that, just going, "I hate all of you."
Trivia. This is the first film in the franchise where Robert Englund receives top billing in the opening credits. I mean, yeah. Like you were saying, Wes Craven turned down New Line's offer to direct and rewrite the script. Brian Helgeland was hired to write the film through England's recommendation after working with him on 976 Evil. The film had a release date set, but no script or director, and Helgeland was hired under the condition they could deliver a script within 7 days. He was advised by New Line Cinema head Robert Shea that if the script came in a day late, they didn't want it. Helgeland then flew home to Massachusetts for Christmas and wrote the script sitting at his father's kitchen table. He FedExed the finished screenplay back to Los Angeles and made his deadline. Based on this script, Rennie Harlan was signed on, and the film marks Helgeland's first screen credit. During the writing of the film, Rennie Harlan and some of the producers by chance happened to bump into James Cameron. Cameron somewhat facetiously asked Harlan how he was going to bring Freddy back to life for this film, in which Harlan also somewhat facetiously replied, "A dog pisses fire on him and he comes back to life." The idea ended up being used in the film, although in a more metaphorical manner than in a literal sense. Kind of a literal sense.
So yeah, more literal.
Yeah, what do you mean metaphorical? That's just literal.
You ever just metaphorically piss fire on shit? Yeah, it's quite literal. Yeah, what a way to revive him. Just be like, you know that one kid from the third movie? Well, he has a dog named Jason. Isn't that hilarious? But anyways, in his dreams, pisses fire in a junkyard. Yeah, that screams of writing a script in a week during Christmas time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's unfortunately the script issues don't all It would be one thing if the movie was kind of like filled with incidents, but it's filled with so much dead air that it makes it really difficult to get behind. They're really working overtime to figure out how to bring Freddy back and how to make him keep torturing these kids. But they also realized they were like, okay, well, we can't just have the same kids around for each damn movie. Like, they got to die. It's weird watching it because it's a movie very much at war with the overarching kind of franchise lore. It's like trying to figure out what the hell are we supposed to do to take the next steps here, and how much do we invest in the Dream Master stuff. And unfortunately, it's really shoddily written. So
yeah.
Well, it's so weird because once all the kids from the third one die, it's almost just like, why were they even here?
Yep.
Other than like to give her powers, which I'm still unsure about, which the only power she really inherits is she does a few flips in Dreamworld. So
I wasn't aware that you could transfer the powers. Yeah, because it's pretty much like, yeah. Not to mention
she's the Dream Master, Charlie. Do I need to repeat myself?
Exactly.
Right, and she also, not only does she get like Kristen's powers, but she also gets like her brother's powers, because like when Dramarama's playing and she's like playing with the nunchuck, she's like, how do I know this? It's like, I guess you absorbed your brother's powers. I don't know.
Yeah, and she inherits all those powers only to just use them to turn a mirror. Let me get through the trivia real quick. Rennie Harlan got the job through relentless campaigning for the role. He showed up at the New Line Cinema offices on a daily basis, repeatedly requesting to speak with producer Robert Shea. For a variety of reasons, New Line didn't like any of the other directors who came in for the meetings about the film, and since Harlan always seemed to be around, he was finally granted an audience. However, there was little enthusiasm from the studio side, as Shea had little reason to put his faith in a young nobody with only 2 poorly received movies under his belt. Shea in turn admitted that he was hesitant to offer an American horror film to a Finnish director whose ideas were outrageous at best. Eventually, Harlan's persistence won the day to some degree because he was so clearly impoverished that his clothes never seemed to change day to day and even began to stink. Shea half-jokingly said that he had to hire him just so he could buy him some new clothes. Another weird reason by his own admission was that with less than a year to go before the release date and a looming writer's strike, Shea couldn't afford to waste any more time, and he believed Harlan looked at least strong and energetic enough to see the hectic shoot through to the end. According to Harlan, Shea rarely ever spoke to him throughout the shoot, and even though he would visit the set quite often, not only made this filming Shea's cameo scene as the teacher a bit difficult, the resulting tension also meant that Harlan lived each day on set like it was his last, because he was fairly positive Shea was going to fire him at any moment. In the end, the film was a big hit in screenings that Shea invited Rennie Harlan to come to the premiere with him in his limousine. Welcome to Hollywood, kid. Now go make a trilogy of films no one asked for.
I'm just imagining that the beginning of that story is the scene in Uncut Gems where Adam Sandler just keeps seeing the footage of the guy outside, just be like, "Oh, this fucking guy! Like, do not let him in."
This is the realistic version of that story that Spielberg tells, where he's just like, "I just showed up on the lot and then eventually just pretended that I worked there." Except this one apparently was a lot stinkier.
And also imagining Rennie Harlan on a lot with like pots and pans, just banging them together, just being like, "Hello,
where's my burrito? Where's my burrito?"
I feel like it's interesting because I think what Rennie Harlan brings to this one is like, not only is he able to like at least get it to the dang end, he throws in a lot of kind of like Brian De Palma-esque riffs in there that actually are very fun. Like a lot of spinning camera from the overhead.
Yeah.
A lot of great overhead shots, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he does a great job with the kill sequences. I mean, you look at the cockroach, the woman.
That's the best part of the whole movie.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
And then
repulsive.
The woman lifting weights too. Like that's
the same. Well, that's the same one.
Oh yeah, all right. I'm sorry, the same one. But
yeah. No, you're fine.
And they're more than competently directed. They actually have some flair to them. It's a bit more than I was expecting, really, given how terrible the script is, and it's Lisa Wilcox is fighting an uphill battle within that role. Don't get me.
Lisa Wilcox, I will take over. I mean, Tuesday Night, I just thought was just bad in this movie. Like, and you're kind of relieved when she kind of. This is terrible to say, but I was kind of relieved when she just landed in the lake of fire. I was like, oh, good. I was worried she might be our protagonist, but okay, she's gone now. Like,
well, like, there's also like two people that I'm just like, they actually have some personality, like Sheila and Debbie like have like personality, and then they're just immediately just like, you're out of here.
Yeah, they're easily the more interesting characters. Yeah, Sheila is like, in particular, I feel like gets killed off way too quickly. Does have a pretty effective death sequence that I completely forgot about until it happened.
Yeah, and what powers does Lisa Wilcox absorb from her, like being good at math? How is that going to kill Freddy? I don't understand. Let me get through trivia real quick. The TV show Freddy's Nightmares was greenlit because of this film's success. Patricia Arquette commented on not being in the sequel. She said in 2017, they asked me to come back, but at the time I was starting to break into kind of media roles. I'd just done a movie of the week about teen pregnancy called Daddy from 1987, and I was really liking getting deeper into my work. I love the horror genre and the Freddy franchise, but I was chomping at the bit to try other things as an actor. She did get there, but it's very funny to be like, I want meteor stuff, like TV of the week,
Their career wasn't hurt by anything, so.
No. I'm saying that, like, yeah, she fucking career was great, but,
The franchise doesn't really pull star power again until New Nightmare with Heather Langenkamp comes back.
Yeah.
Roseanne and Tom Arnold in the sixth one, but excuse you, that's fine. What other cameos are in the sixth one?
Johnny Depp.
Oh, yeah.
Really? There's a commercial that Freddy stars in that someone's watching, and then Johnny Depp.
That's right. That's right. I do remember that.
Do you know what terror is?
Hello.
Do you live here?
Nobody lives here.
Real terror. How long has it been since you've been on Elm Street? Welcome to a brand new nightmare. He is the first in fear.
Will you help me? I'm sorry, someone help me, please!
second to none.
Don't let them put you to sleep.
He has no mercy and no equal. Now no one sleeps. Get ready. This August, your wildest dreams will come true.
How sweet, fresh meat.
A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. The Dream Master.
All right, that's all the trivia I have. Initial thoughts. I will just go real quick because I don't have much to say other than I do not like this film. It feels like, we were already talking about it, it feels like table scraps from the third one, and then once that's all done, we're left with like half a movie with, I'm sorry, the final girl is just not that interesting. And all the people that would be somewhat interesting, they don't give enough time to.
What do you think about Lisa's boyfriend, Dan?
Who's that?
Well, you see more of him in the next one, so you gotta...
Oh, thank God. I've been wanting more Dan.
I know.
Unsurprisingly, the parents suck in this. The mom feeds Alice sleeping pills, for Christ's sakes, like in her food.
That was rough.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
My favorite line in this whole thing, we discussed this in therapy, and she screams it at her.
I saw somebody, I forgot who it was, but it's just like, this is the movie that all the parents just quit caring that their children are dying. Kristen dies and is buried with Nancy and other people from the third one, and it's just like, everybody thought that was a good idea. Like, all the parents are just like, we don't want them buried with like their grandmother or where we're going to be married. It's just like everybody else that were in these past movies that
they deserve each other is basically what they're saying. Sorry.
I kind of, what I really actually dislike about the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is that throughout so many entries, like, we're still not able to turn out a good story of how Freddy Krueger's legacy and his actions hang over the town like a pall, and put these people in such frozen state emotionally. We see it in Dream Master, especially with all the parents. All of them are dysfunctional in different ways, especially like Lisa's mom with the sleeping pills. She's like completely trying to, or was it Lisa's mom, or was that no, Kirsten, I'm sorry, Kirsten's mom.
Tuesday night.
Yeah, she's clearly trying to block out the fact that like traumatic things have happened.
Yeah, which we already got in the first movie with
Freddy's dead. They finally have this plot about the entire town essentially being a portal into Freddy's dream world. And I was like, oh, we're gonna finally do this, and then it doesn't do it.
Also, I love that everyone is expected to go to school no matter how many kids are dying. No teacher is empathetic. They still have to take tests. Like, even in one scene, it was just like, immediately take your seats and no talking is written on the chalkboard. I'm like, dude, people have died. Like,
okay, but after like 4 movies, we're like, maybe they're just like, how many kids died last night? Only one. Okay.
Only one. I know. I feel like the president would be here at some point. Like, by the amount of kids who have died in this one neighborhood, they would send in like a SEAL team at this point. Like,
how many movies did they go in and it just be like, don't live on a street called Elm Street. Problem solved. And then they're just no.
At least, like, Gotham's a city, and it's just like, well, yeah, crime happens, but, like, Elm Street in suburbia, like, what's your excuse there? This is going a little, this is a little ridiculous at this point.
I really like in Dream Master, again, how, Freddy... It's easy to compare him to Jason and Friday the 13th, but especially watching Friday the 13th Part 2 yesterday, in addition to Dream Master, it made it very clear to me that it was like I really enjoy Freddy's off the wall, very very blunt, grotesque, and just takes no prisoners. And I feel like the Jason version's very chaste and very sanded down, very trope riddled, and so that's why I love, like, even though these movies suck so many times, they're just confounding decision after confounding decision. Freddy Krueger, that character, and Robert Englund's performance carries it just that much more.
Yeah, I will say that this is where I start to be like, I don't like Freddy anymore because he's starting to do some Facebook boomer ass one-liners, and I'm just not here for it. And he's not scary in this one anymore. I don't know. I don't
You know,
know.
you bring up a very good point. Like, which Nightmare on Elm Street do you think is actually the scary?
One
Yeah,
or
definitely the
New
first
Nightmare.
one.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the whole thing, right? Is that they're the most well regarded for a reason.
Right. I mean, in New
Yeah.
Nightmare, I feel like he's like not jokey at all. He's like very fucked up in New Nightmare.
Yeah.
New Nightmare is like I've seen it multiple times in theaters. It's just genuinely
It's
one
awesome.
of Wes Craven's best films.
Yeah, that doctor's office scene, so good.
I've only seen that one once. I'm looking forward to revisiting it. It was
Yeah, it's
like over
good.
a decade ago at this point. Yeah.
What else I got? Yeah, the roach trap is the best thing this movie has. It's just fucking disgusting. I love it so much. Oh yes, the red herring mirror we get in this. That's a good thing. Some say the words of another say better than your own. And here's the top review on Letterboxd for this. Imagine being murdered by a motherfucker and right before you die, he says some shitty one-liner like "no pain, no gain." I would come back to life just to call him a nerd and shove him into a closet. That's my review for this movie. Which, like, in the third one, he gets to be a little jokier, but he's still menacing at the same time. Like, welcome to primetime, bitch, but then pushing her head into a TV at the same time. Like, it goes, this one, he's just, like, all comedy. And even in the third one with the syringes and whatnot, like, let's get high, but then it's still gruesome, whatever he does. Like, the pepperoni pizza is, one, not funny, and it's not scary, all right? It's dumb.
It's hard to follow up Dream Warriors.
I mean, yeah.
That's the thing. It's like you're going from what technically the best of the franchise outside of one and New Nightmare, and you're going from a very well defined vision to something that is completely the opposite. So I'm really curious about naturally. I do need to do more research on the productions of all these films because there were just so many of them back to back to back to back to back, and I keep forgetting how much space they have to breathe in the theatrical market, and it's just insane.
Being that, Sam, what are your initial thoughts on this movie? When did you initially watch it? What's your history with this? I will say really quick is I think the poster for this might be my favorite one. It's fucking awesome looking, but
It is
poster's
actually
deceiving.
really awesome looking. I honestly thought I had seen the Dream Master back when I was a teenager, but when I was watching it yesterday, I was like, I don't remember a lot of this. So I'm going to pretend that my history with it was yesterday. As a ardent Rennie Harlan fan, watching all of his good and bad movies, I'm always happy to kind of visit stuff I haven't seen from him yet. And I feel like Nightmare on Elm Street was one of those franchises that, even though I'm very spoiled by all the wonderful local theaters, it's one of those things that's going to come around. So I figured, okay, I'll go see it in a theater proper whenever it comes around. And it hasn't yet.
But yeah, Toy Newkirk, who plays Sheila, I know that a lot of people see her as like very, very huge for them as far as black characters in horror movies. And that alone makes me wish that she had a little bit more to do, but I mean, I really like what she was given. I just wish she got a little bit more. She does pop up. No, I guess not. That's really all she's been in, honestly.
The movie
That's
has
a
a
bummer.
pretty big identity crisis. So of course, the interesting characters, like you said, like Sheila, they just don't get not enough time at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bryden, this is your first time watch. What did you think of The Dream Master?
I didn't really like it. I found this really boring. There were a couple of times where I did actually feel like I was about to fall asleep, and I was tempted to get coffee, but then Freddie would have gotten me, and then I wouldn't be able to do this podcast, and that would have been a whole thing.
You should take up smoking just to burn a lit one into your hand.
Goodness.
Terrible advice.
Yeah.
I think, like, it's been said already in this conversation, this feels like reheated, like, Dream Warriors stuff with, like, the stuff at the start, and then Also, just like also the reliance on like acrobatics and like like overly elaborate like fight choreography. That feels like this. That was like you get like a little bit of that at the end of Dream Warriors, and it's like let's have like 2 whole sequences of that where it's like let's beat the shit out of Freddy with like these awesome kicks and stuff. And it's like okay, cool. I think this also fails to make you really care about the characters, not just as individuals, but also like what they mean to each other. Like it kind of takes a while for it to set in that they're all part of the same friend group. Whereas I feel like the first couple movies, or I'd say the first 3 movies, I have issues with the third movie and like in terms of like from a writing standpoint. But I feel like you get like the basic sketches of like what they all mean to each other as people and like their group dynamic. I mean, with like the group therapy in the third movie, the second movie with like Mark Patton's relationship with his possible girlfriend and the guy that he meets at school. That one's maybe a little that relationship's a little more ambiguous. But then the first movie, like it's really well fleshed out with like the couples that are hanging out together and them getting picked off one by one. You do get the sense of like those emotional stakes and also the sort of structure of the movie where it's going to be like, oh, like they have to like. They realize that their lives are at stake and they need to stay alive. This also, but like I don't really get that here. Like you get it mostly just through like all those photographs on Alice's mirror, and it's like okay, great.
It learned all the like wrong lessons from Dream Warriors, right? It's Dream Warriors, they thought they were like enabled to really explore this avenue of okay, the kids can fight back against Freddy. Freddy's not as scary anymore. But also the kids are still dealing with their shit. But in the new one, it's like, okay, well, fuck, we can't just have the kids fighting in the dream world the entire time. So like what's going on in the real world? And then they don't spend like nearly enough time on that stuff or really just hint at it. It's weird watching like a movie so kind of what was it? So kind of like plotting, like so much time is spent, but not much happened.
Yeah, no, totally. This movie has like a real pacing issue, especially because like, I mean, like I said, I have like writing problems with like Dream Warriors, but at least that makes up for it with like inventive set pieces and like great production design and special effects. I feel like, save for the Roach Motel sequence and the scene near the end when they defeat Freddy, which I think those are really cool special effects showcases. I feel like the kills and the set pieces are not really all that inventive. I mean, like the Rodney Eastman death where he dies in the waterbed, that feels like leftovers from the Johnny Depp death in the first movie. Ken Sago's him dying in the junkyard, I'm just like, okay, so I guess they had that set available from the third movie, so they just did that. And I also feel like they're just like, it's like Freddy just like stabbing people with the shears and then like just cutting away. I also found it kind of hard to follow at some point the way this movie was cut together, like because I think like when Ken Sago's Kincaid, like he gets stabbed, it like cuts to him like with his eyes open, he's like moving in his bed, but it's really darkly lit. And then like it just like cuts to like and then I think you get the Rodney Eastman death where it's very clear that guy's dead. He's like drowned in his bed and everything. But then it's like, oh man, both Kincaid and Joey died. I'm like, Kincaid died? I'm like, this movie's not conveying this clearly. Or maybe I was like,
you didn't know Kincaid died?
I found it kind of confusing because it looks like he's moving, like when he's like in his bed and everything. Like it looks like, especially because the movie had played the false sort of scare of like they get attacked in that first dream and then like they all like start awake and it's like, oh, that was a close one. I don't know. You know what? This might have been. It's very possible this might have been a case of I was knocking off at one point earlier in the movie. So maybe I'll circle back to it.
Yeah, because I feel like, what does Freddy say when he stabs Kincaid?
I know he stabs him. I saw that part, but like he's moving when he's in his bed. Like I mean, he's not just like. Whereas like Eastman, it's like he's lying still in underwater and everything. It's very clear what's happening. There's like all this blood pop. I don't know.
I like this thing. Okay, we now have to remind everyone that if the person is moving while they are dying, they are not dead to Freddy. Okay. They have to be completely still.
My man was tired. He almost fell asleep. I did fall asleep because, Freddy works magic, but more so just it's impossible for me to watch a movie. I'm just becoming a dad, okay? I'm just, hey, Dad, you watching the movie? Huh? Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how mean the jocks were to Sheila in high school? Sheila just having an attack, from Freddy, having to take her inhaler, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, you're sucking on the wrong nozzle, lady." Like, man, what?
It is a weird death because usually, according to the you know, especially considering the time this movie was made, usually it's the people who lose their virginity or get sexually adventurous. And here it seems especially cruel that they're like, don't worry, you'll find someone soon. And then, like, she doesn't do anything to really deserve this type of punishment. Like, that is so, like, sexual, you know, pun based. Like, it's really cruel. It's not. I will say the effect of, like, her deflating like a balloon is disturbingly effective to me in a very cheap way. I mean cheap in a good way. I don't know.
I'm distracted because I was looking up Kincaid's death again. Okay, he's clearly touching his stomach, so I'm sorry that I missed that. But it was like his eyes were open and there's no blood, so like that's why I was maybe a little confused about what had happened. My bad. Sorry, I was very focused on. I had to make sure I got this right.
Every episode going forward, Bryden's like, "Where's Kincaid? I thought Kincaid was still alive."
Sir, this is Drive. Yeah. I just love I was looking up on Wikipedia where it's describing everybody, and it's like Sheila, an asthmatic genius, and Debbie, an athletic girl who dislikes bugs. It's like, what?
Who dislikes bugs?
It's so weird how they meld those two interests together, where it's like she breaks her arms and then bugs come out. End of story. It's very weird how they match those two together.
That sounds like the descriptions on like MTV Next, where they're just like, I'm so and so, I'm 22, and I look good, but I dislike bugs.
I will also say Sheila has every right. No, not Sheila. Debbie has every right to react the way she does to seeing a cockroach on a potato chip. I like how they're like, geez, it's dead, get over it. I'm like, when do you find cockroaches in your bag of potato chips? That's fucking gross, man. Like,
also, I don't know if that's a character trait. I don't think that's they describe that as if like everybody else in the movie, if that would have happened to them, they would just be like, what are you gonna do?
I don't know. I put in the anytime I'm on a dating profile and they have a dislike section, I put bugs.
I will also say, Alice's brother is like the one who's like says that about the bugs. He also seems to have kind of a. I think this is a more a hindrance. This is more a comment on the performance of the actor playing him, but like he seems to have kind of a laissez-faire sort of attitude to the whole thing. Like when he has like the conversation with Dan, the jock, about like how he has to stay up with his sister. He's just like, yeah, it is what it is. If they get me, watch your back, man. Bye. Just like he's very casual about it. I'm like, this performance is not like conveying the urgency of like the emotional stakes.
I know,
not at all.
Yeah, his sister. Are you also talking about who's the character whose sister dies? And they're like, "Hey, man, you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know, man. Everybody's dying, and I just feel like it's getting to me." It's like, yeah, dude.
That's at the funeral. Somebody goes, "Hey, how are you doing?" Be like, "What do you think? You doing all right?
Everyone's such
you
a
still
downer.
Bummed out? Really?"
No, this is the one in the locker room though. It's like a day later, and they're just like, "Man, you gotta like cheer up, Buttercup." And it's just
it's his girlfriend who's died. That's what it is. Yeah,
it's his girlfriend.
It's I feel like there's so much rich storytelling to convey through like trying to study this town and the effect that this constant string of murders has had on it. Like I feel like it's literally right there, right for the picking. But
it is, and there's no commentary. There's none whatsoever. It's also like there could be some really rich for a movie where Freddy is turning much more humorous and pun based. There's like that's rife for satire. I mean, Heathers came out around the same time, and I mean, not trying to say that this movie is aiming for the same things as Heathers, but like, that's a movie where a bunch of teenagers die in a high school and they hit every single like dark target out of the park when, how many kids die in that movie with over the course of, I don't know, a week. And like, they somehow create just enough of a believably fucked up satirical world that it seems consistent. Here, it's just like, everybody's sobbing understandably, and then it'll cut to like 3 hours later. They're like, "Man, are you still hung up about that?" Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but that's again why the first one, excels so much, right? Is that it feels like a fully lived-in universe. It's not the kind of thing where in the Dream Master, it's really easy to see the seams between like, okay, we don't really have that much to show in the human world here. Like it's kind of just the murder bit. So it's It's disappointing, but like obviously it's these movies made a ton of money too. I was always shocked that Dream Master of all of them
Yeah.
was the one that made money.
Yeah, I assume, which we'll get into it, I assume the fifth one definitely made less, and then they were just like, all right, fuck it, next one, we're done. We are done. Unless we somehow get the rights to Friday the 13th, and then we will do a crossover, but that'll take like, I don't know, like 8 years. But other than that, we're done. He's dead.
It's that scene, because we've covered this movie on the pod before, Sam, and or actually on a different pod, but that scene in Bachelorette where Isla Fisher's done so much coke that they have to shove her into an elevator, and they're like, "Where is she? She's sick. She's dead." Yeah. No, really, where is she?
She's dead.
She's dead. I'm just imagining them bringing the script for Freddy's dead. Like,
yeah.
no, really, where is he? He's dead.
Well, sometimes you feel like you need a fucking guide in Freddy's world, because like it's hard, because you obviously want to give weight to these kids getting ceaselessly murdered, but since they're so gag based, there's no breathing room whatsoever to have that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's always a delicate balance, which is why, like, of course it goes more humorous, right? It's a lot easier to make a horror comedy than it is something truly damn scary.
But it is also very hard to make a funny but also scary horror comedy. Because more times horror comedies, people are just like, oh, it's a comedy, but there's like a vampire in it. Like, on the Wes Craven tip, a rewatch Scream, big surprise. That's a very rare movie where it is a horror comedy. The comedy parts are funny, the horror parts are horrifying, and the comedy does not lessen the horror, and the horror does not lessen the comedy. It's perfect.
Exactly.
Also a movie where 2 people die and they cancel school indefinitely. Like you do in the real world.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm going to be the most positive out of anyone here and just say I don't think this movie's very good, but I don't know. The last time I watched this, I was like getting stoned in college, and I was at a friend's dorm where he was already going through all of them, and he was just on the 4th one for part of his marathon, and we were all just kind of, it's not great, but I do remember we were all kind of like laughing at this movie, and then the Roach Motel scene happened, and it like our high just kicked into like, oh god, like, so that's really like all I remembered before watching it again yesterday was thought it was pretty stupid, and then the Roach Motel genuinely freaked all of our stone little minds out, because that's actually directed with a lot of imagination and flair, especially considering like and I was looking for it this time, but as soon as like her arm legs come out and you kind of look around, you're like, where the fuck is she? And then you kind of realize, oh shit, like
when her arm legs come out.
Her bug legs come out. I don't know.
But she starts bolting.
It's late. I don't know how to talk anymore. Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with anything that anyone has said so far, other than like, it's definitely, of the ones that we've covered so far, the weakest one. I still don't think it's terrible, mainly because, I mean, yeah, it's a bunch of set pieces that are like sketchily stitched together. I think some work better than others. I know Robert Englund was also on record saying that during the Roach Motel kill, one of his favorite moments of the entire series was the scene where Lisa's like, yeah, we gotta go find Debbie, I'll drive. And then Debbie is consistently slowly turning into a bug, and then it just keeps cutting back to Alice just being like, we gotta go find her, I'll drive. The time jump. That's pretty cool. I mean, that actually does capture dream logic in a pretty minimalist way, more minimalist than anything in this movie. That is like, I don't know, haven't any of you had a nightmare before where someone's chasing you, you don't know why, and then you just end up in the same place over and over again? You're like, wait a second, like...
I hear what you're saying. I think that is interesting, especially because I at one point I did like think like, did the copy of the movie I was watching just like repeat a scene? But it also made, and then it made me think of the scene in They Came Together, where it's like, yeah, tell me about it. You can say that again.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, I agree with Sam that I actually think, we give Rennie Harlan a lot of shit, and he has made some very bad movies, but he's kind of a dumbass, but he does know how to create some, good spectacle once in a while, and I don't think...
Cliffhanger.
I don't know. Yeah, Cliffhanger's fun. Yeah. Mindhunter is, like, insane and, like, mind-bogglingly stupid, but in a very entertaining way.
Deep Blue Sea!
Deep Blue Sea.
Sam says Cutthroat Island's good. He can do
Yeah,
some good
Cutthroat
shit.
Island.
You're also
Yeah,
naming movies that have better actors than the ones that are featured in this
Yeah.
movie.
That is, I mean,
Also,
that
a good 30 years ago, you know.
yeah,
but-
I do think that is ultimately part of what unfortunately makes this one one of the weakest one that we've covered so far. I don't want to say it is going to be the worst because we haven't seen 5 or 6 yet, even though I know we just mentioned we're not covering 6. But even the second one, you have Mark Patton, and you know whether or not he clearly wasn't playing a queer character, but you know that movie kind of works in a hall of mirrors kind of way, even if it's a sadistic one where the director and the writer are working against him and kind of targeting him. At least it's got that form of reality kind of breaking through that is fascinating to, you know, watch as like a cultural artifact. Here, nobody goes to the Nightmare on Elm Street movies for performances, obviously. It's not like if someone gives a bad performance, I'm going to say the movie's ruined. But at the same time, you got to care a little bit. And the best performances are the ones that go out the window pretty quickly. So, no, we've been talking about the Roach Motel a lot. I still think that's easily one of the most memorable, gnarliest kills of the whole franchise. And there is just something so... Maybe it's just because we're so spoiled in a world of where nothing is practical effects anymore, but just there's something that really gives me, you know, that squeaks me out about that scene in the best way. And like even her face peeling off and she just turns into a bug. I hate cockroaches to begin with, and like, you know, they foreshadow it in the dumbest way that I just joked about a few minutes ago. But I do think that even though it doesn't have anything, it's you know, the most sketchy connective tissue possible. Like it does sort of pay off even in this very dumb movie. So like, I don't know. And I also think Freddy's death in this one's pretty cool. I mean, the mirror is kind of lame, but all the extra limbs coming out of him. And
that's goopy too. Yeah,
the souls.
It looks like Society,
Yeah.
where like all the bodies are sort of melted
Yes.
together. I mean, this was before Society. Society, I don't think actually hits US until like 1992 or whatever. But like, it did make me think like sort of like why are all those bodies melted together? It's like, ooh, it shouldn't look like that. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah, I'm not gonna go to like bat and say that this movie is great or anything like that, but I guess I went in with such low expectations that I had a better time than I thought I would. I take this over a lot of other bad slashers that come out today. At least there's actual like there are aesthetic qualities of this movie that I found admirable.
Yeah, that's essentially where my thoughts lie. Is you know, the Rennie Harlan is definitely a good choice for keeping it visually interesting, even though the script has nothing to support that. You can even see, you know, looking into the history of the production, you know that Rennie Harlan probably is the reason that movie ended up being decent-ish at all. I look at, you know, the fact that they're trying to find a director, even though second unit's already doing stuff for the movie and the script's not finished. So what is Rennie doing? And apparently the story is like Rennie was coming up with ideas for the nightmare sequences on the fly. And it's like, wait a second. So like, what is the second unit doing? Like, what is it about these movies that second unit already has a job before production? And it's like, okay, go get that done. Is it like a ton of
from the outside of that school? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like outside of that school, or like shoot the boring parents. It's definitely interesting just because, you know, how do these things get made so quickly? And, you know, I wouldn't say efficiently, right? They sound like a mess to work on. Yeah, I mean, it's conveyed pretty clearly by the performances, right? They're not really rooted in anything.
When you said shoot the parents, yeah, that's what they should have done in this. For a lot of the Nightmare movies. Yeah. Get them out.
Also, Bryden, you mentioned that, yeah, Joey getting killed in the waterbed is like so leftovers of the first one. He also has not learned his lesson from Dream Warriors, because it was just like, Joey, what happened the last time you were seduced by a strange naked woman that just appeared in your room? I mean, come on.
He's powerless. You know. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I guess so. I don't know. Didn't he have "Come and Get Her, You Bitch" like carved into his chest in the last one though? You'd think he would be like, he just seems like totally fine. Like, like also all of them appeared to have gotten out of the hospital at the same time. Good for them. I mean, I don't know how that worked, but it's usually not like, hey, he's going home. Can I go home too? That's not usually how that stuff works. But whatever.
They all came together at
like,
the end.
that's why I feel like a big missed opportunity for this franchise is the lack of permanency. You know, we don't really feel how oppressive, you know, Freddy has been over this town.
No.
So, I mean, like, you know, it's only hinted at really in the future sequels as well. So
they kind of talk about Freddy as if he's like the school bully who moved out of their town and just happened to move back when his parents got divorced. Like, do you hear he's back? And it's just like, oh, not with that shit again. Like, come on.
What is he gonna do? Like, kill more people? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I love when they're like, oh yeah, Freddy had a wife. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
That man did not have a wife.
Why don't we get we got the flashbacks, we get to learn about Freddy Krueger's mom in the third one. Why don't we get like some domestic drama from Freddy's past? Where it's just like, Frederick, what? I told you to look at me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I like the route that you were about to go down. That's like, Freddy, you never take out the trash. And like,
we'd be like, Freddy, stop stealing the silverware.
Yeah, I just gotta cut the son of a bitch, Freddy!
Exactly.
This is the 5th pair of utensils we've had to buy this month. Oh, God, I hate this place. I can't wait to be dead and reborn in kids' dreams. This sucks.
Yeah, it's a pretty boring town.
This is really the only thing. What do these kids do when Freddy isn't killing them?
Go to a double feature of Prison and Hairspray, apparently.
Oh yeah, the Hairspray poster in the background. That was cool.
Yeah.
I will say, Charlie, you mentioned yeah, you said and I think I've had these kind of dreams before too, like where it's like, you know, you're running in like a place and you realize, oh, this is looping around wrong, like I must be dreaming. I've also the scene where Alice goes to see it's Reefer Madness that she goes to see, and then yes. they include a shot and she realizes she starts looking disturbed as if that shot's not supposed to be in the movie and everything. I've definitely had dreams before where I'm having a memory of a movie. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't remember anything like this. It's which is just speaks to just how my brain is so wired in a specific way. It's
Wait a minute, Martyrs wasn't animated. Yeah, I don't know.
I love how so many New Line. I'm just letting that slide. I love how so many New Line Cinema movies have a scene in it where somebody's going to see a New Line Cinema movie.
I mean, you mentioned Scream. Isn't one of the VHS tapes when they're watching Halloween? Doesn't Jamie Kennedy just have a copy of Smoke on there because it's Miramax or whatever?
Well, and Clerks, yeah. There's a close up of the Clerks.
Yeah.
But yeah, was it 976 Evil where they had a late night theater thing where it's just Texas Chainsaw Massacre's out front, which New Line eventually got the rights of in the 80s, and a few other movies, and then. What is it? Nightmare 3. She's watching Alone in the Dark and Critters. Yeah, just great marketing like that. We haven't had that in Lionsgate movies. There wasn't somebody in the Cat's Meow watching fucking Open Water or some shit.
They were all in Open Water though, so
they sure were.
Not related to New Line at all, but I'm not gonna lie, I rewatched Donnie Darko for the 50th time, but the time I most recently watched it was after I saw Last Temptation of Christ for the first time, and then I always knew that he walks out of the theater when Last Temptation of Christ is playing, but it all just hit me where I was just oh, I get it now. And I felt it's just one of those moments where you kind of feel oh, I see. All right, that's just not there for bullshit.
Charlie just driving to a river somewhere and just screaming out, I understand now.
Donnie is Jesus. I get it. Yeah.
What if there was a Nightmare on Elm Street sequence where a character goes to the theater and Donnie Darko's playing, but then Never Tear Us Apart by NXS starts playing, and they're like, oh no, it's a director's cut. This must be a nightmare.
The director's cut has fine scenes. I don't hate the director's cut.
I'm joking. Of course, I like it too. But and I like that song. But it's just I know it's just funny. That's all.
It's just Freddy getting ridiculously angry when he realizes this is the director's cut.
Donnie Darko.
No, there's definitely not a movie theater scene in the remake. As somebody who has watched that movie for some reason more than once.
I don't believe so.
I don't
What
remember.
sludge
I
would they
haven't
go
seen it.
watch?
They're only watching the Platinum Dunes remakes, so they're watching like.
So it'd all be better movies, because pretty much every other Platinum Dunes movie is kind of enjoyable besides Nightmare.
When did that movie come out? Was that 2009 or 2010?
10 or 11.
What if in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake they just went and saw Sex and the City 2? Didn't that come out the same year?
Oh, hold on. I believe Tuesday Night is in Sex and the City 2.
Wait, you're shitting me.
I am not. Hold on.
There's no way.
Somebody in this cast was in Sex and the City 2, running down the street grabbing random people, screaming it in their face.
Who was in Sex and the City 2?
Sir, get off of me!
It's like Terminator, where Kyle Reese comes back. Do you know what the date is today? And when did Sex and the City 2 come out? Like,
Oh, Jesus, I don't know. God damn it! Nobody knows Martin Starr classics. I don't think Martin Starr directed that. I want answers! I gotta look it up on Letterboxd, because I just looked it up on Wikipedia.
While you're looking that up, I will say I think I like the music, like the needle drops in this Nightmare movie better than the needle drops in the other movies. Because I mean, might just primarily be because of the Sinead O'Connor MC Light song that plays during the workout scene and also during the end credits. But that is a fun song. What is it called? I just want to make sure. I Want Your Hands on Me. There we go. Wanted to check that out.
I want your arm legs on me.
oh, shut the fuck up. I meant to say bug legs. I said arm legs.
Arm legs does make sense.
Arm
Bugs
legs,
don't have
yeah,
arms
legs
or
make
legs.
sense.
They have arm legs.
Is that the sequel to long? Is that the sequel to Long Legs? Just arm legs?
Arm legs. Yeah.
I feel like this one definitely had a good soundtrack, better soundtrack. It's weird because like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies are, running concurrently to pop culture in the 80s, right? So it's interesting seeing how they're reflecting upon that or choosing to or choosing not to engage with it. Is very, very fun to watch. And it always differs on like who the producers and the writers are, right? It's very odd that way. Like Brian Helgeland, it's like he's not a guy you expect to be writing Nightmare on Elm Street 4. But he's the guy who wrote 976 Evil. So,
and boy, howdy, did he write 976 Evil. Okay, can't find it on Tuesday Night's Wikipedia, but it is on Letterboxd. She is somehow credited as herself in Sex and the City 2.
What?
What?
Oh,
what
she
it
must
says.
sing.
Maybe, yeah. Because she
Is she in
appears
the
as
karaoke
herself.
bar?
I guess. She appears as herself in Sex and the City 2 and in New Nightmare. Which one is better? That's weird.
That is so weird.
It's like
Sex and the City 2 is a New Line movie, so there we go.
like the Pam from The Office thing. It's like find the difference between the two movies, and it's like I can't.
Yeah.
They're just so damn meta.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't feel like a movie that understands how to take the franchise in a positive direction. It just feels very plotting until they can figure out what to do next.
But it made people a lot of money, so
Made people
no
a
one
lot of
complained.
money.
So did Sex and the City 2, Charlie. What's your defense?
Wait, did it? I thought Sex and the City 2 was like a bomb, wasn't it? Did it make money? I guess it did.
Did we stop when Pearl Harbor was bombed? I thought that movie made money.
What if? Now I'm just imagining that Freddy Krueger goes to Abu Dhabi in the next movie.
Sex and the City 2 budget of $100 million made $300 million.
Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
$100 million. $100 million. Where was that money on the screen? I don't understand.
Yeah, how much of that is actor salaries?
Probably
Yeah.
all of it.
Probably.
Liza Minnelli definitely got paid half of that budget.
Kevin, I don't remember if it was on the show, but I love how you were like, remember how the inciting incident of Sex and the City 2 is that Big buys Carrie a TV and she's like, you're a piece of shit, and then goes on vacation.
I'm going across the globe, you sack of shit. You bought me a television because we've decided to stop going out every single night and watching movies. And he was like, hey, you know what? I'll buy you a TV. And she's just like, you, how do you sleep at night, you son of a bitch? Yeah.
Also, there's the whole subplot where Charlotte's like jealous of her younger nanny who had her younger nanny. Then they were like, "Oh, right, we have to wrap up that subplot that we introduced," and then they'll just be like, "Well, we'll just say, yeah, we'll just have Sarah Jessica Parker go, well, Charlotte's nanny preferred other nannies." Done. Like
non-extended cut, 2.5 hours long.
Yep.
Terrifier 2, Sex and the City 2, same length. Same torture.
If we combined those movies, that would be fun.
No.
I don't know.
No. I'm done with this. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Almost Major. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Please follow the pod on Twitter at Almost Major to keep up to date with what movies we will be covering in the future. Myself, I can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at KevBonesy. Bryden can be found on Twitter at Bryden Doyle and on Letterboxd at JDoyle. Charlie can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at CTNash91. Once again, thank you for listening.
Are you a film fan who loves the ultimate home video experience? Look no further than The Disconnected. Your host, Ryan Verrill, is your go-to source for the latest and most accurate information on home video releases, exclusive interviews with industry insiders and filmmakers, and has established a thriving community where every film and physical media enthusiast feels welcome. From hidden gems to blockbuster hits, The Disconnected brings you insider knowledge and a welcoming space to share your love of cinema. Watch every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific for the live announcements show and follow The Disconnected on social media to stay updated. Subscribe to The Disconnected on YouTube or on the podcast provider of your choice and dive into a world where every movie night is an adventure.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description